Hey, what's up, people? Thank you for joining me. This is episode 12, or should we say 12.5, of Sports Debate Tuesday, along with Rob Keep It McLean. I am Jason DeBeas. Rob, let's get to it. I got a question for you. Question number one. All right, we're talking about Tua, with many experts talking about Tua going to the Dolphins. And just most recently, I believe the Chargers are trying to get him for number 6. I just found out this morning. Sports Debate Tuesday morning. With a few teams that could use a good quarterback, where's the best fit overall for the 5th round pick, or maybe the 6th round pick?
So the thing with Tua is like a generational type talent, and the thing about the quarterback is you have to throw the ball well. You have to anticipate. There are certain skills that aren't necessarily physically bound that you can't necessarily see. Which is why Joe Burrow is a fantastic quarterback. He might be a little quick. He might be, a decent height, but he's got the right decisions at the right time. He sets himself up for success, and he makes the right decisions. He puts his players in the right places. Same thing for Tua, even more for Tua. If Tua was not hurt, he would be the number 1 player in this draft, bar none.
Yeah.
Even with Joe Burrow being the national champion, how great of a season he had, because Tua did it on a bigger scale. He didn't win. He actually won only a couple more games, but he came in a much more different situation. He came in a college championship game in a team that was down or was not playing as well, and came and won the game for them as a freshman. That's huge. That's different. That's a different caliber player, and he's gotten much better. So, who is he a best fit for? He is the best fit for anybody who doesn't believe their quarterback is their guy. If you can get a guy that can transcend your offense, you go get him. So that's to anybody. Who he will go for, I think that the Dolphins are setting up to pick him, whether they have to go up or if he falls to him for the injury concerns. But I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit, threw themselves out there and went to go get it, or if somebody went up to Detroit's pick at number 3 and chose the the Alabama prospect, because he's the best. He's the best quarterback in the draft. Very tough with the injury, but he is a very, very generational talent.
Yep. All right. Hey, Rob McLean, let me tell you something about the second best pick in the draft. That's Tua, because my best pick is still Burrow. All right, quarterbacks come in levels, all right? There are the untouchables, all right? There's like the top 5 or top 10. We're going to do a top 5 later on. And those are the guys you're like, no matter who we draft, we got our guy. Thanks, but no thanks, okay? And then we have the guys middle of the pack. Well, it's tough to name names because all of them are so good, where you're like, you know what? Let's put him in and let our whoever's here now battle for his spot. Maybe I'll just use Daniel Jones as an example, or Haskins, or you said Washington has the number 3 pick, right? So it's one of those things where and then you have the bottom half where you're like, yo, this dude could start for us right now. And we talked about the Chargers, right? Chargers already got a good receiving core. They got very, very good coaching. Bend but don't break stout defense. It'd be very, very ideal for someone like him to build the first 2 years, depending on what the Chargers want. If they want to win now, guy, maybe Tua might not be your guy. Maybe Burrow might be your guy. But to answer the question, I think I'm a co-sign with you. I really, really like the Miami Dolphins. I like that he gets to stay in the South. I like that this coach finally has a good player and a good leader for a change. Someone, who got injured, but the injury, the guy is so durable. The injury was freaky. It's a freak injury because the guy doesn't get hurt. I don't know. I mean, a name like Tua and whatever, however we want to pronounce his last name.
Yeah,
you can help me with that one later.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, but so for me, it's he's a natural leader. And I like him to have a good young coach. I like to have a good young team. I like to have him be surrounded with some vets that believe in him. And I like the Miami Dolphins for Tua. Who do you There's some buzz about someone else, Herbert coming out.
Justin Herbert, but Jordan Love coming out of Utah State. That's like a big pick. I hear that. I mean, he seems like he's going to get picked up maybe in the the 20s, like the early 20s, but the Patriots are number 23, and they're saying that they're for sure drafting a quarterback in the first round, or not in the first round, but in this draft, drafting for the future. So if they pick up a Jordan Love, they give him time to, mature under center in a practice squad or on a second team. Man, the future is bright for that kid. They were saying he has the comparisons or the ceiling at least for like a Patrick Mahomes-esque type player. So it's a very interesting draft going on. It's very, very deep in a lot of positions, and yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be league changing almost.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about this is that I didn't think it was a quarterback heavy draft, and now some of these guys are getting buzzes, and I don't know what's going on in the virtual combine that's making everybody. I mean, like the first round, what were we thinking? We were thinking 2 quarterbacks first round, right? And Tua, like a few months ago with his injury, we weren't even thinking him first round. So we were thinking really 1 guaranteed and one as we say in the spades, 1 in a possible. But now all of a sudden we're talking 4 quarterbacks. Now we're talking Miami might want Herbert or might want the guy our guy from Utah State. You said
Utah State, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but to answer your question, who would be a good fit? To answer our question, who'd be a good fit? I would say the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins.
It'd be nice to see, bring them back on prominence. And the AFC just lost their best player, so we'll see. Maybe if the Jets and the Dolphins will be the top of the AFC next.
Yep. Rob, you got question 2, or should I read that?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
I got it.
Thank you.
Rob McLean is going to bat for me today. I had some technical issues yesterday for the people that were listening to the podcast, and I apologize for that because we're players and players are always on time. All right, question number 2, and I think I'm gonna go first on this one.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's joining the Tampa Bay Bucs. With him joining the Bucs, has shifted the power in the NFC, particularly the Southern Conference. The question is, are the Tampa Bay Bucs potentially the best team in the NFC? And Rob, potential is a very tricky word, and I always say, and I got this from a play, there comes a time when the world stops rewarding you for potential. For what you can do and your ability, what you can and what you can't do. And with that being said, we're not rewarding Tom Brady for potential. We're rewarding Tom Brady for what he has done in the distant past, what he has done in the recent past, and what predictability says he's going to do again. So potentially they can be the NFC, but in reality, right now, until he's not. They're not the best team in the NFC. They're not even the best team in their division. I bring your attention to the New Orleans Saints. I bring your attention to Drew Brees, who has a plethora of wide receivers, pretty good running game, excellent A plus type coach, and one of the most complete teams in the NFC, and always find themselves in the NFC Championship game, losing and scratching the surface. Pretty much like Tom Brady was with the Patriots, always in a situation in the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl, or winning or losing. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see him having to play a team like that twice, as opposed to feasting on the AFC least.
Absolutely. Yeah, potentially they do. Absolutely. But will they? I don't believe so. Because they're just you need time. When you have these situations where you have great players moving to teams that are solid, ready to make the next step, we all think that we just expect that they're going to make that jump smoothly. But we have to know that it's going to take time, and Tom's offense is going to be different than the offense that the Tampa Bay runs, than what Jameis Winston could do last season. And we're going to see what Tom Brady's made of. There's a lot that's going on. And just like you're saying, there's a team in Seattle that proved last year that they're right at the top, just like they did for the last 4 or 5 years. They had a little down year, maybe 2-3 years ago, changing the guard with a lot of their defensive players leaving and retooling, but they retooled. They're double digits in wins last season. So they're right in the picture always. And I think that there's going to be a day where Russell Wilson takes that step and is that number 1, number 2 quarterback in the league. And it's just, it's going to come. So
yeah,
Tom
for
Brady
a while, he was number 1, right? I mean,
yeah.
his
Uh,
touchdowns to interception ratio in the beginning to the middle of the season before Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes came on. Everybody was like
right.
Russell Wilson was the runaway. They were saying runaway MVP.
Yeah, but for me, I think a lot of people look statistically at that. I take it more on the field as well as statistically, because not to say that this could be happening, but there's garbage minutes. There's a team could just be that much better than the other team and just outclass the other team. It doesn't mean the quarterback is playing outlandishly well. So
Right.
I think it's just you have to take it for what it is. And just like we're talking about Tom Brady, I don't think that his numbers explained how good he was last year, but that's why we're giving him the credit, and that's why he's staying as a threat to be one of the best teams in the NFC. But that doesn't mean that he will be immediately.
Yep.
Solid team, Tampa, but they still got some young players in that team, some locker room issues maybe, so they need to clean it up and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, we previously had a conversation about locker room leadership, and I think that's where Tom Brady definitely serves an advantage. There are certain locker rooms where if you have three really good vets or maybe a good quarterback and the combination of such, then you have a complete team. I bring your attention to the Ravens when they won the last Super Bowl beating the 49ers. The last time they played each other, you had Ray Lewis, you had Suggs, and you had Ed Reed. All three of those guys, by the way, on defense. Joe Flacco had led when he had to, and just a great core of players. And John Harbaugh, who all of the players by consensus, they're like, this is the guy you want to play with. This is the guy you want to play with because he treats everybody like men, and he makes a deal with us. This is what you can do, and if you abuse that, then you're not with me. And if you don't, then we can continue on being professionals. Professional was the word I'm using. I just wasted a whole bunch of time there. So Tom Brady doesn't need a whole lot of locker room leadership. It's just him. Bruce Arians is an alpha. Really, it's just the two of them, and just like Belichick and Brady in New England was just a two leader partnership. I think he can do the same thing in Tampa Bay. Of course, you had Richard Seymour and you had Ty Law. These guys in between. Take the initiative when they had to. But at the end of the day, with a guy like Tom Brady, it's going to be him, and it's going to be Bruce Arians.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think Bruce has his things to prove, so it'll be very interesting also to see what he's going to bring to the table with a new team. Like Mike Evans ran roughshod over the league, but he also was a really bad teammate. He also was a really terrible person in the image for the league. So there's a lot of things there that I'm very surprised that Tom Brady is in Tampa Bay, but more power to him. He sees what he sees, and I want to see what's coming from it.
Dude, that was like the game signing with G Unit, right?
Yeah, and it was just like immediate.
Like, huh?
At least he didn't go with the Jets. That would have been just like, wow. I know.
No, he can't.
Yeah, it's just
he
too
can't
high
join
profile.
the same conference. Miami's been his biggest jinx. The Buffalo Bills have been his favorite beat-up toy, and the Jets have been the bane of his existence under the Rex Ryan era. Rex Ryan right now has more wins against Brady than any other coach. Still small numbers, but still better than most. So, All right, hey, we did it. And all right, topic number 3. In this day in sports, actually, it was yesterday. But we're treating it like this day in sports. The Golden State Warriors defeated the Grizzlies to secure the best record in the NBA in 2016. Their record was 73-9. So, does winning the title this year taint people? So I guess the question is, with them winning the best record in the NBA, but not winning the title, does that taint people? Some memory of them.
You want this one, or?
Yeah. The answer is absolutely yes. What? Dude, I bring your attention to Major League Baseball. We got the Seattle Mariners. Won like 115 games, I believe, in 1999. Didn't win the World Series. Does anybody remember them? No. Okay. I bring your attention to football. Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback and the greatest coach to ever play, had an undefeated regular season. Roared all the way to the Super Bowl with an 18-0 record. Lost to the Giants. Will people remember Tom Brady and Bill Belichick? Yes. But will they remember that Super Bowl? Remember that year where they were 18-1? No. So now I bring you back to the NBA. 73-9, breaking Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls record. And arguably, maybe they're equal as far as complete teams is concerned. And this is even before Kevin Durant came. But with that being said, 73-9 record. Did you win the NBA title? No, you didn't. So will anyone remember you that year? No. Especially in the manner and how they did it, Rob McLean. They were up 3-1. Draymond calls LeBron a B word, and that gives him a 1 game suspension, mysteriously. Okay, so they lose that game when he's not there, but you're up 3-1. What happened to the other 2 games? What happened to the finals where Draymond Green scored 32 points? I believe it was 32, 7, and 12 or something like that. He did play, and he did show up, and they still lost. So, will we remember the Golden State Warriors? Yes, but will we remember that season? No. Rob,
not a chance.
The floor is yours.
Yeah, it's upsetting because we won't remember that because it wasn't a culmination, which is sad because we won't remember until we look into the record books and it's not the Bulls because and nobody would remember the Bulls do it unless they remembered Michael Jordan. So it's kind of interesting that it pans out that way. But the record is the record. I think. They won. They had won their
right? That doesn't change.
Well, yeah, they had won their championships. They weren't searching for a championship anymore. They were kind of searching for a dynasty, and that, in all honesty, that record kind of fell in their laps. It wasn't like they were saying that we're gonna go for the record this year. They had 30 game win streak. I think it was ridiculous where they were it was something I think it was 20 something game win streak.
35-6 by Christmas or something like that.
Yeah. But they had a win streak going, and they also had a win by a certain amount of points going. They had certain streaks and certain records going on top of that. So that's what I'm saying. The record kind of fell into their lap. I think maybe where we didn't have so much social media, the Bulls or other teams that may have been close, they're not really. Maybe they knew or they didn't want to keep it in their minds, or maybe they're trying to win the NBA championship. But I think this is really, again, an evolution where the fans want to see it, the players want it to happen. They're conscious of the record books, and they made it happen. And I think after that, obviously, they were clearly tired in the finals. And for me, with the Draymond Green thing, it's more about a flow, and that's they won the season, but they were never going to win the postseason because you could tell they just didn't have that extra gear. They couldn't give in that little extra at the right times.
Yeah.
And they were close. They were real close. But
and did they
Draymond
not go
Green
to
went
7
out.
games to get to the finals? Did they
Yes.
not go with the Oklahoma City Thunder 7 games?
Mm-hmm.
So so they did have kinks in their armor. I suppose against good teams when everybody's gone, you have to separate the men from the boys, right? Sooner or later, you got to find it a really good team you could beat 4 out of 7 times. That's not easy. I get that.
But even on top of that, you have they were up, but in that pivotal game, which is usually the series changer. I know it was 1 game away from the championship, but it's not the most relief of pressure. They have if they lose 1 game, they're going back to Cleveland to play another game. And then they're coming back to Golden State at home for a deciding game. That means it's not necessarily home court advantage. There's more pressure on you to, and that's so. It's really lopsided where that game that Draymond went out was the most important game of the series because it was at Golden State and it was something where he was not present. But that's where you kind of want to close it out is 4-1. You know what I mean? If you don't, things get flipped. So interesting.
4-1 would have really painted the dynasty because they won 3 out of the 4 years, and that would have been 4 years in a row. That would have been a 4-peat, and that would have definitely started the healthy debates, something that we're doing right now.
With KD after that? Because KD is going to be coming through if they just won, and they had the chance to do it. They just lost, and he can come through,
Yeah, that would have been a look out shout moment, dude. Ow.
For real. My goodness.
Wow. And I'm just looking like head to head, like Jordan, you know, Rodman, Scotty, Wennington. I mean, they had a really good team, man. Steve Kerr,
Mm,
the
it's
coach.
crazy. And they had big men too. Big men that would run and be active, and it was great. It was great to
Yeah.
see.
Well, every good team has a power forward, that gets floor burns and that does a lot of stuff that doesn't show up on paper. '90s. I'll leave your attention to the Houston Rockets, Otis Thorpe. Horace Grant from the first Bulls three-peat team, Dennis Rodman for the second three-peat team, Dennis Rodman for the Detroit Pistons. Like every good team had a grinder like that, and the Warriors didn't. And I was very very curious if people started roughing them up. What would have happened? Maybe they just get called for a bunch of fouls and as soft as cotton rules guidelines today. But maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm being an old fart about that. Yeah, he's like, yeah, you are. He's like, you are old fart. Um, all right, Rob. Fourth question.
Mm.
The quarterback remains the most important position in football, highlighting a wave of quarterbacks who possess high mobility and accuracy at the same time to throw down the field. So now you got the combination of both. You don't have stationary guys that are deadly, and you don't have guys that are quick-footed but not terribly accurate. Now, in this day and age, it's the evolution, right? Got it.
Hmm.
These athletic quarterbacks that have a brain. With that being said, Rob, from 5-1, from 5-1, who are your top five quarterbacks in the NFL?
Mm. All right, I got you.
Start the music.
Number 5 is Aaron Rodgers for me. I think he just gets the nod over a couple of younger guys that are, like you're saying, athletic running quarterbacks who are not necessarily playoff proven. Even though Aaron Rodgers is not necessarily playoff proven himself, I just what he can do on the field with his arm, with the ball, is just his skill level is very high, and he's able to put the ball in places that most people cannot with ease. Um, I just think his team, his franchise, kind of failed him a little bit throughout his career with the amount of time they let him get on the field, and then how lackadaisical they've been in free agency. So my number 4 is, if I want to say this correctly, I believe it is Drew Brees. Yeah, Drew Brees is still the model of consistency. He still does an air raid system at 40, 44, or 43, whatever it is. And he's been in my what knocked him down a couple spaces is that he's been injured too much. But other than that, he's just puts the ball where it needs to be. He makes a Michael Thomas better than what he can be. Like, no one thought Michael Thomas was going to be anything, and now he's one of the most consistent wide receivers in the league and got paid for it handsomely. So great to see. Love Drew Brees. My number 3 is who do I have? Oh yeah, my man Russell Wilson. He earned that spot. I think that people, obviously I could mix it with Tom Brady, he and Tom Brady, but I think Tom Brady gets a nod on what he does in the playoffs, and that means how you finish. I think Russell does a great job first half of the season, second half of the season. It comes to playoff time, he doesn't quite leave it on the field. Maybe he doesn't take the same risks that he would take in the offseason, in the regular season, and I think that shows up too in the end of the regular season. He kind of dials it down maybe a bit, and he doesn't peak. So that's why I would give him just a nod, the nod over under Tom Brady for right now, who's my number 2. But I love what they're going to do out there with DK Metcalf. I love what they create with a strong line on both sides, defensive, offensive, and I love their running back game. So I think that Russell Wilson's coming soon to come for that championship, but he's up there, number 3. Number 2, my Tom Brady. Just got put on a new team. I really think that he's going to maximize whatever the skill and talent that he has left. He's finally gotten 2, not just 0, but he has 2 prototypical as well as skillful top wide receivers. He's got a young skillful, and big tight end. He's got a capable offensive line in front of him, and he's going to make that offensive line 10 times better just by the way that he adjusts pre-snap, he recognizes blitzes, and how he can get the ball out of his hands fast if he recognizes those things. He can recognize the field a lot easier. Just for the mental aspect of the game, he's my number 2. I really think if he has a blowout season, a real big season, even if he doesn't put up the numbers Mahomes does, he could be my number 1 guy next year. Just a little peep in the future. And then Patrick Mahomes, my number 1, purely based on what I've seen. I mean, man, I've never seen somebody be able to control a field with first his personality, but then second, how literally I've only heard this a couple times where you want to keep him in the pocket. He's almost better when they flush him out of the pocket, and then people get off their routes, get open, and he just finds them. You can see the real talented players who make almost, it looks like, even better plays outside the pocket, because what happens inside the pocket looks so easy. So they go out of the pocket, it's a little bit challenging, people running after them, they make another great throw. And it seems so simple, but man, it's just beautiful to watch. The cross the body, cross the field, you're not supposed to do that. He does it perfectly. No look passes. No one's even thought about that in the NFL. No look passes. You know what I mean? So Patrick Mahomes, number 1. He's going to be there for a long time, and he's got to stay healthy. But, man, it's going to be great to see. 1 through 5, Jay, what do you got?
You know what? The cool thing about this top 5 quarterback list is that we have numbers, we have stats. I have a whole bunch of numbers over here that I was running through and support my argument with numbers. But when it comes to the top 5, we ain't got to go for numbers because they all got numbers. Numbers are a given. Rob, are you ready? This is me, Y2 Jason. Jason DeBias's top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Number 5. Aaron Rodgers. I'm co-signing with you on that one, Rob McLean. Aaron Rodgers, solid quarterback, still one of the best throwers in the game. Some would say one of the best throwers since Dan Marino, and that is saying a lot because that man had a cannon. Between him and John Elway, they are taking the skin off your hands. 13-3 record, second seed. All he needed was a decent coach and a defense that doesn't give up big plays, where he doesn't have to have these one-horse races against an entire team. And you got yourself a quarterback. Maybe he'll win a Super Bowl. Maybe he won't. But Aaron Rodgers remains my number 5 pick. Number 4, I gotta go with Lamar Jackson, because we are talking about who the top 5 quarterbacks are today. That man took a team to 14-2 under the good leadership of our favorite coach, John Harbaugh. The man runs, the man throws, the man reads, the man is fearless. And just to think, the experts wanted to recruit him as a wide receiver. Go kick rocks, experts. Number 3, gotta go with Patrick Mahomes. You had him a little bit higher, and you have every right to have him higher, but I got him in my top 3, and I got him at 3 at the top 3. The man throws with his left hand. He throws with his right hand. He throws underhand. He throws sidearm. He throws overhand. He throws a one-arm tie behind his back. He throws with his helmet looking down where he has no line of sight. He's throwing no-look throws. He's throwing all-look throws. And his team was a stupid defensive penalty away from actually going to 2 Super Bowls. And under the guidance of our other favorite coach, Andy Reid, ask him what he's won. He's done wonders with Donovan McNabb, and I knew he would do miracles with Patrick Mahomes. Number 2, my favorite quarterback the last decade, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, this man is in the Northwest, just putting up monster numbers all the way up to the middle of the season. Was a runaway MVP. His touchdowns to interception ratio is just ridiculous. It's beyond whatever. He's been to the playoffs pretty much every single year since he's been in the league, except for one. And he was one play away from actually securing the NFC number 1 seed, which came down to one play. It actually came down to, if I remember correctly, what the hell do you call that? Delay of game that put them back and that made them fall short. falls
Mm-hmm.
short of the goal line. So Russell Wilson, the quiet man who walks quietly but with a big stick. Oh, the short guy. Oh, he's short. He's short. That's all you got? That's the only thing you can say about this guy. You can go kick rocks too. And that leads me to number one. You know what song is coming right now. I'm drumming it up. My boyfriend's back, bigger than before. Hey la, hey la. My boyfriend's back. Tom Brady, the absolute stud. The man has been snubbed by Michigan, made his way to the top. He's been snubbed as a sixth round pick. There were 7 quarterbacks, or the Brady 6, right? There were 6 quarterbacks picked before that guy, and nobody even remembers any of them. As New Yorkers, the only one who remembers Chad Pennington. This man can throw with good receivers. He can throw with tight ends that run with a bus on their back. He can go to the crowd. Hey, where you from? Dorchester? Come on out here. You short white guy, come on. Let's play some wide receiver. Tom Brady has been good. He's been great. And we haven't even seen him write his legacy and finish his chapter in his story, which is going to finish in Tampa Bay. But Tom Brady is my number one pick. Rob, does he throw harder than the 4 quarterbacks we mentioned? No. Does he run faster? No, you run backwards. You could do the 40 backwards faster than that guy goes. But all he does is win games, and my number one pick is Captain Clutch, Tom Brady. Man,
good list. I
we
don't know,
lose,
man. I think Lamar.
Listen, I'm not.
You know,
You're not wrong for saying Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind about Mahomes. I do think he's young, and I think the Super Bowl kind of proved what he's capable of. He's capable of like doing nothing for 3 quarters and then blowing out, or not nothing for 3 quarters, but nothing for 2 and then blowing it out, the second half of the game, or just winning it at the end of the game, and then the semifinal, they were down 21 to or semifinal.
Yeah, 24-0.
24-0.
You're talking about Kansas City and Houston?
And Houston, and then the next game, he wasn't doing too well in the in the Super Bowl, and then they just like kind of won at the end. You know what I mean? Like it was a great game, but it was just he wasn't really clicking. And maybe it's just the defense schemed really well and all this and that, but you could tell that there's things you can do to maybe get him not to play in his top game. He's not just this inevitable talent. So. Great to see, but yeah, definitely can break down on my list if he doesn't have the right pieces around. Tyreek Hill wasn't there for a while; he was injured. And there's concerns that he might not be back to what he could be. But glad to see him back.
Man, how fast is that guy? How
Killed
fast
it,
is that
yeah.
guy? I think at the end, I want to show like a video of Tyreek Hill catching up to someone. I remember. I don't know. I forgot who it was. It wasn't LaShawn McCoy. It was Williams. Broke one, he's by himself, and then someone ran up on him. I was like, who the hell is that fast? I'm like, thank God it was his own teammate. But the dude runs like 4.23 at the 40 and got caught up and got caught by Tyreek Hill. That dude is, I don't know. He's got an afterburner, jet propulsion system up his behind or something, because that dude just takes 2 steps and he's gone, particularly the first step. Very rare, right? Good first step athlete.
Very.
Like you look at some of the short white guys I was talking about, Welker or whatever, those guys. Those are good first step receivers. Edelman, first step receivers. But Tyreek Hill's got first step and breakaway. And cuts.
It's hard. Yeah, he's just all over.
Yeah. So I guess the reason why I'm stalling is on the edit. I'm probably gonna just plug in a video just him catching up. Totally. We're doing, for everyone watching this is Sports Debate Tuesday. Because of the coronavirus, we're kind of airing a day early because I'm teching my own show and I'm doing all the editing on my own. We miss you, Miranda. We miss you dearly, like the deserts miss the rain. All right, now our favorite section, Rob McLean. This section is called boom boom boom. Good idea, bad idea. Rob McLean, good idea, bad idea. LaShawn McCoy wants to play 2 more seasons.
Well, I don't know if he's including this season, but I still think he has it. I don't think you lose shiftiness. I think you lose speed, and that's what he has lost. But if a team is looking for, has a good banging back, like a Leonard Fournette in Jacksonville, and they need a guy that's kind of, can kind of break tackles and make them think another way, and then have Fournette come in and just Rod Ruckshot House again. I mean, I don't see against it. I think he really does. He's able to break tackles still. It's just he's not going to be a breakaway guy. He's never really been a breakaway guy. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea because maximize your money, maximize your talent, and enjoy your sport, man.
Well, since I didn't start the timer on this one, we'll do the timer next because I like me some LaShawn McCoy. I liked him when he played for the Philadelphia Eagles. I definitely liked him when he played for the Buffalo Bills. He struck me as the guy that doesn't do good in like these 3 running back tandem systems. He strikes me as the kind of guy that the more touches he gets, the more as far as constant pressure is concerned, and occasionally making people miss, which we know he does very very well. And I'd love to see him in a system where it's kind of like a 2-back set where he gets more touches. So, good idea for 2 more seasons. Reevaluate after that.
Totally. Maybe just retire after that.
Yeah, or maybe just retire. Yeah, right. All right, Rob. Good idea, bad idea. Hold on, let me get the clock ready. Todd Gurley will wear the jersey number 21 for the Atlanta Falcons without Deion Sanders' blessing. Good idea, bad idea.
Good idea. This guy, Deion Sanders, gets to pick and choose when he comes back and represents the Atlanta Falcons situation. Like, he's all about Dallas Cowboys. I know he, brings up Atlanta sometimes, but you can't say someone shouldn't wear your number. You should just be talking about somebody retiring your number. Like, forget about that guy.
Exactly.
Do your thing, Gurley. Get healthy. Wear your number.
I say good idea. I co-sign with you, and that's because Deion Sanders had multiple opportunities to stay with the Atlanta Falcons. He was going a different way, the prime time direction, the Deion Sanders direction. He wanted a Super Bowl. He wanted a chip. Went to the 49ers, got a chip with them. Went to the Dallas Cowboys, which we both agree is his new real home as far as retiring number 21 is concerned, and got a chip with them. So Deion Sanders, you had a chance to stay with that team. You left that team to get gold, and everybody respects and appreciates that. But as far as them appreciating you and retiring your jersey number 21, you can go kick rocks. Rob McLean, good idea. There it is. There's our doorbell. Shut up. Stop ringing my bell. Good idea or bad idea? Dak Prescott has had a party that may have broken social distance guidelines.
Bad idea. I mean, this guy just is currently, I believe, trying to get a new contract. So I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what he's trying to pull, but it's just not smart. And I don't think he'd be getting paid the money anyway. So maybe he's just trying to, Face is trying to come through and say you're not going to get paid and you're not that good of a quarterback. So
look,
bad decision.
Yeah,
bad idea.
Bad idea, and I'll tell you why. I believe in nuclear families. I believe in people who are brothers with different last names, where everyone spends so much amount of time with each other. But with that being said, unless all of those people that were at that party are living in his house the next month, where they just associate with each other and only associate with each other, where they all get it because one person has it, or none of them get it because nobody has it. Bad idea. That was not a 10-person social distance party. Come on. Even for football players. Do you see that play? Look, I know football players can eat, but nah.
No.
Yes. Tell Miranda the bell is back. Where is it? Right there. Rob, good idea, bad idea. NBA players playing horse on ESPN as a recent event.
At first I thought it was a good idea, and then I actually watched it, and man, is it such a bad idea. Maybe one time it's a good idea, but I don't ever want to see that again. That was like the most boring thing I've ever watched on ESPN. Honestly, I'll watch a replay of any single game other than that. Sorry, bad idea. Bad idea.
Well, Rob, thank you for leaving me the remainder of the allotted time, which seems like a lot because it seems like I have so little and at the same time a lot to say about this. I like horse. All right, I like horse for people like you and me. I like horse when I'm playing my girlfriend. I'll shoot like eight in a row. She'll shoot like 15 in a row and house me, okay? Because that's how she does. That is the Kelly way. With that being said, I think it's a good idea because you have former players that can get in there and not get hurt. But bad idea because it's ruining sports. Even the coronavirus isn't doing as bad a job of ruining in sports as horse is. Rob McLean, Bad idea.
Bad idea.
All right, good idea, bad idea. I bring your attention to the UFC because that's how we do. We're big on MMA. Disney having Dana White shut down the UFC for the month of April.
I mean, good idea. I'll be trying to be quick. Good idea, but I mean, Dana White even said that he couldn't even have any. The island wouldn't be ready until May anyway, so I don't know what he's expecting, where he's expecting having these fights in the first place. No one's going to open their building to have a UFC fight. So, yeah, bad idea. I mean, a great idea. I wonder why it took so long.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good idea, and I know Dana White tried, and I know he knew. I know we all know that if there's any sport that could have gotten away with it, it's combat sports, where you have limited people around the cage, an empty arena, and there's only 2 people fighting. All right, they get tested, everything's okay, everything's okay. Athletes can survive this. What athletes bring back to their family and home may not survive that. So that's always the underlying concern, as Max Holloway said. Right, these fighters can most likely combat coronavirus, but who they bring it to. When the event is over is always the underlying concern, and safety is an issue, and who knows? I don't know. Who knows when they're ever going to get back in there, but for now.
Well, I think the safest route would probably be just like have, not a halfway house, but, an area where they can spend 2 weeks, maybe be able to have communications like through, glass window or whatever, and have that 14-day quarantine after you've played those games or after you've done those games, and maybe make it like a lot longer of a schedule.
Or maybe a quarantine training camp. Right?
Where, after you're done, if you're there for 2 weeks, you're going to know if someone's going to come up with it or not.
And how many weeks is training camp? 8 weeks. Look, if these guys, if anyone can pull this off, and assuming they're heading for like the end of May or like June or whatever, because I think a lot of these people are running their training camp as if they're going to fight in May, and I think that's very smart. As long as your training camp is isolated, like you go to Big Bear, California, you're in some remote site, man. You're good. You're good. I
mean, I think that just the end ruling of it is I don't think they know enough yet.
Right.
I don't think they know enough where, because they say, everybody's going to get it eventually. If not it, then, the flu, because one of those 2 things, they're both viruses that are not cured. So
yeah, and no vaccine.
Things that they come around. So you're going to have them. And I think it's just a kind of like after it doesn't affect our hospital system, we'll be able to care for the people. And I don't think it's going to be too bad. But if the hospital systems and the healthcare systems aren't able to take all these people on a certain amount of time, that's when deaths come up. That's when people try to take masks from hospitals because they're worried they're not going to be able to get masks, and hand sanitizer goes off the thing because people are scared that they're going to die. But it's not really the issue. The issue is more of all of it at once.
Yeah. Being able to treat people and
make sure. Yeah, because the people that we treat, they start to take the numbers into play now, but they say. There's a lot of people that recover as well,
Yeah. Well, Rob, we're both New Yorkers, so with New York having the number of deaths almost equaling the number of cases that California has, at some point we're going to know someone that has it or has suffered from it. I have a close friend of mine, Bernard Norman, former volleyball player, one of those underground Central Park, like hardcore type guys. He had it. Was in Harlem Hospital, and I'm probably going to have him on a future podcast, and he just talked about just the horror show and how bad it's become, and the way it's being treated, and how the hospitals don't have enough. I'm not going to use the word equipment, but equipment is also included, but not limited to what they need.
Equipment, supplies.
Yeah. Not just that, the ability to isolate people from each other, because now we understand the coronavirus has different strands now. There's 3 different strands. I also understand it's in some preliminary studies, like people who are O positive, their blood type is O positive, have a stronger immune system against the coronavirus, but that's only against the first strand, and the study is very premature. So. That gave me a little bit of comfort. I slept a little bit longer because I'm O positive, and so is my goose. But I don't know. What were you gonna
I
say?
think I'm like A or B or something like that. No, I was just saying, but there's just so much information out there, and there's a lot of people like saying other people are wrong, and I just think there needs to be a little bit more time before we can get concrete evidence consistently instead of just like. I think maybe the right information is out there. We just there's just so much information out there that it's hard to really sift through and believe in something and then just hold it down. The one thing I just know about is the things they made us do, which is social distancing and a lot of cleaning of the hands, face masks in the face, clean your hands before you take your mask off, clean your teeth after you take your mask off.
Just be smart, man.
All the extras.
Yeah, these are all these are all great precautions, even if a medical professional didn't tell you to do these things. Social distancing,
exactly.
Wash your hands, wear the Michael Jackson mask. You know what I'm saying? If you have one, I don't think people should be penalized for not wearing a mask until they could develop a system where everybody's able to purchase one. You can't be like, you can't go to the store because you don't have a mask. But
they said a face covering,
covering
at least. Like they even said a bandana. They said anything, just to cover your face consistently.
Yeah, because if you have it prevents it from getting out.
Up. Right, and if you don't know that I can just put something over my face, then go home and get a mask. I see the people at the store who are working so long every day to give people essential food all the time.
Truly in harm's way.
Shouldn't have to tell you how you need to stay home and stay safe. Like you need to get out, be proactive, and figure out how to be safe in your community.
Yep. Cool. Well, hey, before we go, just got a few snippets that I took care of on this day years ago. I believe the Celtics won the first NBA championship, 1957. On this day, 2019, Greg Popovich surpassed Lenny Wilkens to become the all-time winningest coach in NBA history. It's 1,413. San Antonio, they beat the Nuggets that night, 101-96. Popovich, probably the master in games decided by 5 points or less, which attributes to accumulating some of these wins. He's a clutch coach that was blessed with clutch players through 2 decades of his career, and I say good for him. I think he's the best coach in the NBA, but if you ask him, he says the best coach is Larry Brown. And I like that pick for the reasons because he knows Larry Brown and because I did some research on him and I understand why a lot of the coaches say that. Like the fans are worried about wins and losses, but you ask a lot of the coaches, they're hung up on Brown. Brooklyn guy, by the way. What else? The Warriors achieved the best record in the NBA. We talked about that. As of today, 1963, Pete Rose got his first major league base hit.
A lot of those coming.
Yeah, and R.I.P. Dan Rooney passed away at 88 years old. He was the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and leads me to my next thing. Rest in peace. A lot of people died yesterday or today. Former Cubs second baseman Glenn Beckert died at age 79. Tavares Jackson, car accident, 36 years old. I don't know. There's still, I guess the fact finding mission is still unfolding on that, but 36 years old. And I think you remember him. He played for Seattle a little bit. He was kind of a little bit of a journeyman.
In Minnesota. He played for Minnesota a bunch too. Yeah, Tavares Jackson. I remember him. He backed up Culpepper a bunch too.
Yep. Doug Sanders, 20-time PGA winner, dies at 86 years old. Peter Bonnet, soccer player, English, one of the Brits, died at 78. And Anthony Causi, which a lot of people don't know. We're New Yorkers. We might know him. He was a New York City photographer that covered New York City teams for the New York Post for 2.5 decades, for 25 years. So R.I.P. for our fallen. And I hope you're in that big playground, field, or court in the sky. What do you say, Rob?
Yeah, man. Just echo all that. That's good. Oh yeah, also, R.I.P. to Karl Anthony Towns' mom. She passed away from
she did.
coronavirus as well. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Oh man. Another life lost. Oof. That guy that's saying Stacy's mom died too due to this coronavirus. Stacy's mom has got it going on. I called Torrin just to joke around because Torrin sounds like the guy, but I mean, it's funny, but not so much, I guess. But yeah, man. So Rob, hey, with that being said, this concludes our podcast. A little bit early, but you know what? Sometimes it's about quality over quantity. And thank you so much for joining me another week. And I encourage you and yours to stay safe, as does Rob tells the rest of the world listening to us. We got 20,000 views last week. That's second. Last week we finished with 25. And it's still counting. We finished 25,000, so we smashed through our own record. We broke John Mayer's record, who was the guest. And let's just keep this going, man. Thank you for everybody on the East Coast. Thank you, UK, Australia, Russia, Texas. Of course, we're in the South Bay. Thanks for the handful of people that tune in and watch this podcast. This is episode 11, or excuse me, this is episode 12 of Sports Debate Tuesday. For Rob McLean, I'm Jason DeBeas, and we both say, so long. See ya. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify, and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.